A very happy Friday to everybody out there, and welcome to Fantasy Football today. It's a Friday mailbag. Fantasy Football at cbsi.com, the letter I, fantasy football at cbsi.com. That's our email address, and leave us an Apple Podcast 5-star review. And yeah, we'll read your question on the air. It's going to be awesome. Also, we're going to start talking about Draftathon. You loyal listeners, you know all about Draftathon. This is every year we raise money for St. Jude. Last year we raised over $100,000. You're going to have plenty of things to bid on, including some of your very own ideas. I think we're going to be able to do some. Hey, what do you want to see me do? What do you want to see me shave into my head?
But you won't do it, though.
Oh, I will do it for a certain amount of money.
Depends if his wife is busy that night on an important work call.
I'll go to the actual. Go to my barber.
I'm gonna text your wife and tell her the night of the Draftathon she is not allowed to do anything.
No work calls.
Watch the children and keep away from your office.
Yeah,
unless needed to cut your hair.
Well, okay, but here's the thing: my children are up till like 11 o'clock, so she's gonna be.
That is a you problem.
Okay, Adam. Even better. I'm gonna ask your mom to fly up, take the children out.
Okay. I'll let her know. She's here. She's actually in my house as we speak. All right. So anyway, Draftathon, we're going to tell you all about it. But
Nando will come to your house. That's
Nando,
right.
He's not invited to my house. Podcast Awards. Go vote for us in podcastawards.com. And, look at this comment from Eric. I only watch live because of Dan Schneider.
My man, Eric.
Look at that.
Wait. Eric with a K. Wasn't that one of the guys that Dan shouted out like when he gave 28 shout outs a week ago? 2 weeks ago?
Speaking of 28 shout outs, check out Church Street Bagels in Denville, New Jersey.
Are you getting free bagels for that?
My buddy owns a place, so yes.
Oh, cool. All right.
And the shout outs are insane.
All right, we'll start with some Apple Podcast questions here. Here's one from Dr. Robotnik. Question for you all about the way you frame the conversation around mid-round running backs and even mid-round wide receivers. On the recent shows, when you all rank and discuss these guys, you consistently talk about which ones have top 12 upside or top 10 upside and rank those guys higher, even if they may have a much lower floor. What's so bad about drafting guys with high floors? I understand drafting for league winners, but if every pick you make is a risk, your team can certainly stink. I think there's something to be said about drafting RB25 and him finishing as RB22 or so. Getting what you pay for isn't such a bad thing in fantasy. Thoughts?
I think it's an easier conversation with receivers because, defining the floor for a lot of running backs, especially at that range, is relatively difficult. Like the first guy that came to mind for me in this range is Brian Robinson, because it feels like he's got a safe floor because he's going to be the guy that gets the carries there. His ceiling, I think, is relatively huge because if this offense does improve and he's getting more goal line opportunities, plus whatever he gets in the passing game, I think he could be fantastic. So for me, he's a very good floor play. But I think, like the guys that come to mind, like does Zach Moss have a safe floor? Does James Conner have a safe floor? Does, Tony Pollard or Tyjae Spears have a safe floor? You can certainly argue pros and cons for those type of guys, but it feels like they're all risks.
I think that point is great on running back. Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
I think to Robotnik's point, yeah, if you have a whole team full of just upside guys, it could sink your team. You want to have a nice mix. I don't think you want every pick to be an upside pick.
But that position, though, is just it's hard to define. I think
safe.
Who has a safe floor?
Yeah, at running back, I don't think there is such thing.
That's okay. But when we think about that, I think that's usually we're thinking about who's going to get the most touches.
I'm not even so sure there's such a thing at wide receiver either, because you're chasing targets and those guys are the highest upside guys as well. And those are also the guys who will provide you with the floor. Like, I don't know where
we were talking, I think yesterday's show or Wednesday, I don't remember exactly, but the receiver, it's like Deontay Johnson.
Sure.
Feels like he has a safe floor.
I don't know though, because we don't know the target totem pole there.
Well, we kind of can anticipate
that
his targets are going to be there. And Canales is going to help the offense. If you're just projecting everything out, but comparing him to Christian Watson, for example, the floor ceiling conversation with those two guys are drastically different. So, again, I'm just trying to pick somebody that Chris Godwin feels like he has a safe floor. Where does the ceiling come into play with him? So those type of guys, I think it's easier to predict because of the targets. But in the case of running backs, yes, Adam, obviously we're looking at guys who are going to get touches. But again, then you factor in who's got competition, who's got injury concerns. I think with that position, it's just a little tougher for me.
So I wanted to talk about Zach Moss because I know we're all into Hard Knocks. You know, you guys seem to like.
Wait. You say we're all in the Hard Knocks. You're a Giants guy.
I don't even
a football podcast, and it took you how many days to watch that show?
I'm busy, man. I watched it yesterday. I watched the second episode. I watched the first episode last week, but I'm not as into it as you guys are. I don't think it's.
Oh, I think it's great.
I think it's a little boring, but but I did think one of the most interesting.
You'd rather see the player go off the field and have, his activities and whatever.
I couldn't care less. I mean, it might be better than the other version of Hard Knocks. I never watched the other version of Hard Knocks.
Okay.
I thought the interviews in the quarterback room were really cool, but I think the most interesting fantasy thing so far from Hard Knocks was when they were talking about the free agent running backs in episode 1. I'm not sure who the guy was for the Giants, someone who works,
Chris Rossetti.
Okay. He was saying Zach Moss is a really good pass protector. Yeah. And that's one of the fears we have for Zach Moss is he's not going to play on third down. For what it's worth, PFF gave him a much higher grade. His pass blocking grade last year was 60.4, which was 57th among running backs. Chase Brown's was terrible. It was 26.7. That's, young running back takes time to learn that. But I did think if you want to talk about Zach Moss and give him a floor, if he's actually the better pass protector, doesn't that help his floor?
Yeah, this is why when we broke down it maybe a month or two ago, we did an episode of players that I want to come out of drafts with or something like the players most wanted. He was on that list for that reason because I think he's going to play on third downs because I don't think they can trust Chase Brown on third downs for this exact reason. But obviously that remains to be seen because we have seen in the Zach Taylor offense, they utilize those running backs on routes on third downs. Like he's not the offense that always going to keep in a running back to pass protect. So if he's starting to send running backs out on routes on third downs, well, then that might be a spot for Chase Brown to get his foothold in.
If Zach Moss stays healthy, he's going to be fantastic.
I think so too. Yeah,
but that's just not been his track record. So hopefully he's past that and can stay healthy going back to college.
All right, here's one from a whole bunch of letters. A weird Apple podcast name. Subject: Adam is awesome. And then in parentheses, and so is everyone else on here. I agree with half of that. This is an incredible
read of the second half of that.
This is an incredible podcast and should definitely win the podcast award. I'm keeping Christian McCaffrey. There's no round penalty. Keep your top 3. Pick 2 of the next 3. You can start 3 running backs and 2 flexes. So Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Puka Nacua. You're already keeping McCaffrey. Pick 2 of the next 3. Taylor, Gibbs, and Nacua. And he says, I should be able to get some quality receivers with my 2 first-round picks in addition to these keepers. Okay.
I would love to know if this is PPR. Is there any information on that?
No.
How many running backs you start? Anything? No.
Yes, you can start 3 running backs and 2
a flex.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
2 flexes.
I think I would just go Taylor, Gibbs, and McCaffrey, honestly. I'm not as high on Puka, so that's where I'm at with it.
I would go with Gibbs. If you think you can get 2 receivers high, or I guess I would assume you probably figure you can get 2 of any of these players high, right? Unless he's just looking at the receiver pool being deeper, which it is. Then you keep the 2 running backs and hope you can get 2 quality receivers. But I'd probably mix it up and go Gibbs and Nacua if it's full PPR.
Okay. Comment about me
Half
here.
or none, I would go Taylor.
Adam looks like he has a favorite pajama. I do not.
He does look like a guy who wears a lot of pajamas. Can I tell you a quick? You didn't give me a chance to tell you my quick slight before the show. So those who might have been watching on YouTube might have saw my arms crossed.
Save this for a little later.
Okay.
This next question from Apple.
Gotta hype up the match. We're calling it the match.
This is actually about you. It's from Skelly. Dan isn't alone. Myself and all Thrones fans.
Thank you.
Say it. Which is what you call it, Thrones.
Yes.
Which is weird.
No, it's not. And 46% of the poll also agreed with me, by the way, which was not just omitted from the original conversation. Go on.
Which means half the poll did not agree that we don't call Game of Thrones Thrones. Like I said, who said
46% of people did.
They said
no one does.
They said they knew someone who did.
Right. You said no one. The idea was, does anyone do it? You said no one does it, but Dan.
Why you just call it House of Dragons? Because that's the name of the show.
Actually, you know what people call that one? I'm not one of these people. People call that one Hot D.
So wait, it's you, Jamie. You just call it House of Dragons. I think is it House of the Dragon or is it House of Dragons?
House of the Dragons.
It's definitely not House of the Dragons. It's either House of Dragons or House of the Dragon.
Most people call it. I think some people call it Hot D.
I think it's House of Dragons, right?
It is.
No, there is a the because people call it Hot D.
House of the Dragon. Okay.
People call it Hot D, so there is a the.
Hot D. I like that. Okay. Next up, keeper questions. We'll finish up our Apple Podcast segment here. Keeper league, I get to keep one in a 2-quarterback PPR league. Jalen Hurts in round 2. Amon-Ra St. Brown in round 3. Kyron Williams or Puka Nacua in the last round.
Oh, God. This is so hard for me to not just go value town and take the last. You can go you can go both of those, Puka and Kyron in the last 2 rounds.
No, only one. Only one.
Oh, only one. Oh, that's easy then. Hurts and Puka.
Wait, is it only one? Only one overall.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. This gets tough because
it's super flex.
2 QB.
Yeah, 2 QB.
Even 2 QB. Even more so, you need these QBs. I might just go Hurts. 2 QB is a devastating game. You can't get lost in 2 QB. You got to start 2 every week. This ain't super flex.
You would assume that everybody's going to keep a quarterback, right?
Yes. And I've seen people have no quarterbacks to start in these types
unless
of
they
leagues.
have just horrible quarterbacks. But
I would not keep Jalen Hurts in round 2. I would keep Puka in the last round.
Jalen Hurts is a top 4 overall pick though, so you're still getting value there. And in this type of format, you need the quarterback.
Yep.
Okay.
You don't want zeros.
Of course, you need a quarter. It's not like 20 quarterbacks are going to be okay. Look, you obviously have to figure out who's being kept if you can, but at most 12 quarterbacks are being kept.
Okay,
So,
let me say this. If this is a 12-team league, it's Hurts without a doubt. If it's a 10-team league, I'm a little more open to considering maybe not. 8-team league, fine. You can go away from the quarterback. 12-team?
I say this all the time. You don't need to have the best quarterbacks to win in a super
But you
flex.
need quarterbacks.
Not super flex.
He can still have.
This is not super flex, though. This is 2 QB.
First of all, I have never once started a non-QB as a super flex. I don't think I've ever done it. I hope no one ever has to do it.
Well, we're talking about 2 QB, so you can't. That's not even an option.
I get it. All I'm saying is super flex and 2 QB. I live by the same rules and the same guidelines. Because of course I want to start a second.
So I guess the question would be is, do you want Puka and let's say Jaden Daniels, right?
Right.
Might be your option. Or do you want Jalen Hurts and still maybe Jaden Daniels because you still have your first round pick? Plus, I mean, you're not going to get anybody like Puka late, but still.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're getting a second round pick out of this.
Adam,
I guess if you have the opportunity to feel out what the keepers are, then Puka makes more sense. But if you can keep Hurts, I would rather keep Hurts.
All right, let's go on next one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this is from AL5185. 10-team, 2-quarterback keeper league, 4 point per passing touchdown, 2 points per interception, and it's half PPR. It's a $200 budget. Again, it's 2 quarterbacks.
Okay.
Keep one of the following out of a $200 budget. Lamar Jackson at $46. Anthony Richardson at $17. Drake London, $2. James Cook, $5. Trey McBride, $1.
We're keeping how many?
1.
Richardson, 17. I'm done.
I might go McBride for $1.
It's 2 QB. I'm not going to take that risk.
I think I'd rather have Drake London at 2 than McBride at 1, Jamie. How about you?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, salary cap's a little different because you could spend what you want to spend on the quarterbacks.
But there might not be any quarterbacks.
Of course there will be quarterbacks. I mean, this is a year where we think quarterback is deep. You probably get Aaron Rodgers in this league for $3.
Not about thinking quarterback is deep or not. It's about the scarcity position. Only 32 start every week.
I understand that, but if you don't keep a quarterback here, and let's say you don't want to spend on quarterback, even in a $200 budget, you could probably get Deshaun with some combination of Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew.
Sure,
Stafford.
None of those guys have anywhere near the upside of Anthony Richardson. So my play here is that I think you think Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers have Anthony Richardson upside.
No, he doesn't. I'm just saying you spend it at other positions.
I believe that Anthony Richardson at $17 in a 2 QB format could be worth a lot more than a $2 Drake London. That's
I would also take Anthony Richardson. I'm just saying there are different ways to do it in 2 QB leagues. You don't have to have great quarterbacks to win. Also, it's a 10-team league here.
That helps. But
yeah, I'm going to change my answer on the previous one. I think Puka with the last round pick.
Thank you.
And Drake London here.
God, again, Jamie going with me. Before the show, what did Jamie say about
that?
Me?
Was devastating. Are we getting to that now?
Find out after this break on Fantasy Football Today. We're going to read 3 or 4 emails, and then we'll talk about the match. All right, this is.
I also have a test for Dan that applies to Adam.
Oh,
okay.
Good test.
I definitely got better grades than Dan. So I think
I don't know if that's true for sure. I had a very good GPA in high school and college.
Not as good as mine.
I didn't. My major wasn't theater.
My major was not. That was my second major. All right, this is from Jesse in a town in Win Country. That's probably supposed to be wine country. Petaluma, California. All right, this is it says, "Dear Adam, Dave, Heath, and Jamie." Oof, sorry, dude.
That's okay.
Listen to your recent round 7 through 9 wide receiver episode. I heard you talk a lot about Zay Flowers with or without Mark Andrews. I didn't hear much about the presence and now the absence of Odell Beckham Jr. How are you attributing OBJ's vacated targets? Do they change your thoughts about Flowers at all?
A little bit, but I think it goes more to the conversation about twofold for me. You've heard just a lot of love for Rashad Bateman, and I think that's where that goes. And then will they do what probably makes the most sense for their team, which is get Isaiah Likely more involved and run a little bit more 2 tight end sets that open up the opportunity for him to be more involved in the passing game. So yes, it should benefit Zay Flowers. Obviously, anytime somebody leaves and you have a talented player like that, and we've talked about this twice in the last 2 weeks. Yesterday with Rich Rebar about just vacated targets and opportunities for Zay Flowers. And what we said about, Flowers and how rookie wide receivers go, which is you usually see the build toward the back end of the season. Well, what was the back end of the season for him? Mark Andrews was missing. So I don't think we have a full definition of just how good he can be. So I think in the case of Flowers, if you're going to overvalue him because of Odell Beckham not being there, you're going to make a mistake. You think he's going to benefit tremendously because of Beckham not being there, I think you're making a mistake, but it should still help. Yes, obviously.
Yeah, I was. It's a little surprising, but Odell Beckham actually had a higher target per route run rate than Zay Flowers. But Beckham didn't play that much. After week 1, because he got hurt in week 2, he missed weeks 3 and 4. After week 1, Beckham never played more than 59% of the snaps. But when they were both on the field, Beckham was being targeted at a higher rate than Zay Flowers, from week 5 on, basically. Which is pretty interesting, which is why I actually favored Beckham when Andrews got hurt. I thought Beckham was going to be better. And I think he actually may have been better if he played a full snap share, but they never put him on the field. All right, next up we have pretty interesting question here from what's his name? I don't know. But he says, "Hear me out and prove me wrong. In the past years, the top 20 to 25 maybe had 2 or 3 combinations of players on the same team." So he's actually wrong about that. He's a little bit low on that. Hill and Kelsey, Chase and Mixon, Adams and Jacobs, just to list a few. This year, fantasy analysts are drinking the Kool-Aid because there are 6 combos in the top 20. Saquon and A.J. Brown, Hill and Achane, which is not top 20 for us, but in ADP, it's close. Wilson and Hall, Puka and Kyron. 3 Lions in some cases, but definitely St. Brown and Gibbs, sometimes Laporta. Bijan Robinson and Drake London. Add in McCaffrey and Ayuk in some drafts. That means it's like 7 teams are going to be responsible for most of the top 20 fantasy players. Well, he says, like 7 teams will be responsible for about 14 of the top 20 fantasy players, which is ridiculous. Over-concentration will lead to the worst projection for analysts in years. And I think it's pretty interesting that we are putting a lot of stock in the top 15 to 20 picks in just a handful of teams. He's right. Now, so it would be the Eagles, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Rams, the Lions, and the Falcons. And yes, Jamie, I know where you're going, but we were talking about this with Rich yesterday. Yeah. Every team is in that McVay, Shanahan, Ben Johnson group except for the Jets.
Right.
But I don't know that I make anything of this, but it is really interesting. Well, it is more combos than what we usually have.
I mean, again, to go back to what Rich was talking about, I think we all agree. You're looking for players on good offenses. For the most part, we're expecting these to be good offenses. Obviously, the Jets is the one that you look at and say, can they get there? And the answer is obvious, that the quarterback is back and the offensive line is upgraded. So that's the hope. So, look, there's a reason why we project, right? And there's a reason why that word is what it is. It's not like it's a guarantee. If it was a guarantee, we'd say, okay, yeah, we could take Rashad White in the first round because he's going to do what he did exactly the same way again. I mean, it's just you have to look at offenses and players and talent and what they're able to accomplish, and that's what we're hoping for. So it just happens to fall this way. I think that these guys are on similar teams, and are coming off big seasons, or we're expecting them to have big seasons. I mean, look, the Jets and the Falcons are clear projections, because things are different from what it was a year ago, and we're looking at these talented players and hoping that they take a step forward.
I think a lot of it comes down to just the changing in the NFL. Like, we're getting to a point where offense is much harder to come by in my mind than it has been in a lot of ways over the last few years. And a lot of that has to do with how defensive coordinators have changed how they scheme against these passing games. They're not as aggressive. They're playing cover 3, cover 6, cover 2, 2 high safeties, really trying to keep everything underneath. So you either have to deal with you either score in fantasy points with an efficient fantasy offense, or the few that are explosive. And that's where all of these picks are concentrated in. And I've kind of always drafted this way personally, but you're still going to miss. There are still the guys on the bad offenses who get 160 targets, or the guys on the bad offenses who get 300 plus touches at a running back position. And those are the guys we should be really looking into. Who are we missing on that front that we should maybe be pushing up? Because those guys will be as valuable, if not more valuable, than some of the back end guys on these great offenses that we're putting up, targeting so high and drafting so high. It's just a matter of finding out who those guys are. To me, it's a little harder to do because those guys seem to come, in my mind, at least, out of nowhere in a lot of ways sometimes. Even if you look at like the back half of last season, for example, this is a smaller example, but like the run George Pickens had when Deontay Johnson was out and things of that nature. These things are sometimes harder to predict, but that's really where I think the edge is going to be had, because we know who the great offenses are. There will be a couple surprising offenses. No one saw the Texans coming last year, but what really is like, who are those guys who are going to be the target and touch hogs of their offenses that aren't as good?
Yeah. Well, I looked at the combos from 2022 and 2023, the guys who were going in the first 2 rounds on the same team. And it's different if you want to throw in the quarterbacks, right? Because you had like Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. But last year, the combos were terrible. We did not do well with this. We had, unless you want to count the quarterbacks, like Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, that was fine. But also Devontae Smith was 25th in ADP. So that was a huge fail. We had Diggs and Allen. I don't know how you want to consider that. I think, overall Diggs was good, but probably not worth the first round pick, obviously. Jacobs and Adams, that was a disaster. Waddle and Hill.
They weren't on the same team. Where they were, sorry.
Yeah, they were. Waddle and Hill. Obviously, Waddle was a huge bust. Lamb and Pollard. Pollard was a bust. Chase and Higgins were close. I think Higgins was like 27th in ADP. If you remove the quarterbacks, he would have been right at the 2-3 turn. He was a huge bust. So the combos were not good last year.
Right.
They were better in 2022, like Chase and Mixon, Adams. Not that one wasn't great. Adams and Aaron Jones. Jones, I don't think was great. Jefferson and Dalvin Cook was kind of on the border. Eckler and Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen was just outside the top 24, but they were great per game. But we also had like Leonard Fournette and Mike Evans going at the 2-3 turn. So these combos haven't worked out, but it's not necessarily because they're on the same team, just maybe coincidence, but they haven't really worked out so well.
Well, I think though, maybe the bigger picture is don't take 2 guys on the same team on your own team.
That's a good
that
point.
I've always, so I don't mind stacking quarterback receiver. I don't know how you're
but your first 2 picks?
That I don't mind either personally. I'm willing, but again, this goes back to the question we had earlier, like what kind of player are you in fantasy? And I am not really interested in being in the middle. I don't mind bottoming out and having a year that's really bad. I would like to go to win it all. So I think stacking is a way that you can try to push to be one of the better teams. Now, I do think you cannibalize yourself if you go quarterback, running back. That's something I never invested.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
All right, next up we have.
Well, I want to give you the test.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
The Azer test.
All right. Dan, you, the 3 of us are in Adam's wonderful Big Burger Dynasty League, right?
Yes.
Do not look at your roster. I'm going to ask you if these players are on your roster. Okay?
Sure.
Zay Flowers.
Yes.
Stephon Diggs.
Yes.
Rashad Bateman.
Yes.
Khalil Shakir.
No.
And Brian Thomas Jr.
Yes.
Okay, you passed the test. Do you know the players that are on your roster?
I love my roster. I know my roster. Adam, how many did Adam get wrong?
No, it was our fantasy baseball team.
Adam and I share a fantasy baseball team.
Oh, I saw that. That text message was a disaster. We didn't even know you had Paul Skeens on your team, like the best pitcher in baseball.
The best pitcher in baseball.
He doesn't even know he's on the. He's like, and then he asked, "Did you drop him?" I thought we cut him. Did he say I thought we cut him? Who would ever cut him? What were you like? His first outing was like a perfect. It was like a 6-inning shutout.
I know. I thought he was one of these guys. Like, well, I wish we could keep him, but I think we have to drop him. Like Shane.
Why would you have to drop him at any point?
because we had a roster crunch when we picked him up, and we probably had somebody coming off the IL or something. I didn't know.
Oh my God.
So I said to Adam, I just sent Adam for anybody didn't see what I tweeted out or twixed out, whatever we call it now. I said I just texted him Skeens, and he says, "What did he do?"
Yeah.
And I said he had a no through 7. And Adam says, "Do we still have him?"
When are you dropping him as co-manager? At this point, it's just past due, right? Is it just like charity at this point that you're keeping him on your? Like, I don't understand.
I don't want to spend the full 50. I want him to share with me.
I like it. I like it.
I am looking back at a text exchange between us, and we were considering dropping Skeens. Oh no, we were considering trading
him.
Yeah. For Anthony Volpe. Wow, that would have been a huge mistake. Okay, let's go. That
was before he was called up, though.
Okay, please, let's go. Joe from a taco shop. Wait, are you saying we drafted him?
No, we picked him up.
Nice. Joe from a taco shop in central Pennsylvania. Dear Pastor, barbacoa, carnitas, and fish.
Nice.
Ooh, let's rank them.
Ooh, Pastor. So Al Pastor, off the spit, we're talking about, right? Like a true Mexican taco shop when you get it off the spit, the meat spit, Pastor.
Whatever that means, sure.
You never had that, Al Pastor off the spit?
Off the spit? I don't know.
Yeah, the rotating meat thing.
Okay, sure. Yeah, great.
That's by far the best. Tacos El Gordo, check it out in Vegas when you're out there. Off there, Al Pastor's off the chains.
Shout out.
I mean, this is not a place I have no affiliation to Tacos El Gordo. But again, go to Denville, Church Street Bagels, Frankie Bagels. But ask for Frankie Bagels. But El Pastor 1. What are the other ones?
Carnitas, barbacoa, and fish.
Barbacoa 2. Carnitas. Well, actually, you know what? I take it back. A really good fish taco is number 2. But some of these places use crappy frozen fish. It just ain't the same. So, I mean, just like bad. Like there's good frozen fish and there's bad frozen fish. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm going to go good fish taco 2, barbacoa 3, carnitas 4.
Okay, I'm going to go carnitas, pastor, barbacoa, fish. So anyway, Joe.
Jamie doesn't get to answer this?
He doesn't seem to want to answer.
He doesn't seem to want to answer. I give you that. He does not seem to want to answer this.
We're reading that the same way. All right, so anyway, Joe says, I will gladly roll into the season weak at RB2 if I'm playing in a fab league. In fact, I'd even recommend it as a strategy. We can't guarantee a lot in fantasy, but every year there are great players to be had on waivers. With fab, you are assured a chance to pick one of those players, and that foresight should be in mind while drafting. Now, if you pick the right players or bid enough is what still makes it a game, but it's still better than your chances with waivers. You'll be given a shot at blah, 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 blah. I'm also a fan of spending more early in the year with fab because you get more return on what you spent on your roster. I'll start. Oh, I don't really agree necessarily. I think you might be don't be over influenced by last year. Last year was the best year that I can ever remember for zero RB. It was a running back, madhouse. And a guy like Kyron Williams coming off of waivers, it's just so rare. But there were a lot of good players to be picked up throughout the year. And we called it like the year of zero RB. It's not always like that. Also, I don't know that I like to spend big early. I get that. Spend big early because if you hit the right guy, you get him for the full year, basically, like Jerome Ford, who I think Jamie got for $0 last year, by the way, before Nick Chubb got hurt. Actually, Dave got him for $0, and then Dave dropped him. And then Jamie, I think, picked him up for $0. Anyway, yeah, but if you miss on someone, because this happens a lot, like Amari DiMercato, I was looking at some transactions. Amari DiMercato on 2 separate occasions went for a decent chunk last year, and it never paid off. So I like to save my fab if I can. But Dan, what do you have to say about this whole philosophy?
Every time this happens, Adam, I'm not aggressive enough with the FAB. This happened with Puka Nacua last year, and I always end up regretting it. I think the guys to be had on free agents are usually week 1 and week 2, and I don't think anything comes anywhere close after that. Last year was a good example. I don't want to just use that. I don't have the time. Maybe after this podcast, I'll take a look at it and go back, but I think there was one the year before as well that I remember, and I would bet if we look back, because I always end up when I don't do it. I've been on your side of this, Adam, far too long of saving the FAB. And I end up having so much FAB. I'm hitting week 8, 6, 9, 10, 11. Now I'm using like 20% on some idiot, like you said, or I don't want to call him an idiot, but like some guy that doesn't help my team ultimately.
I don't always save. I don't always say, okay, I'm just saying I'm not going to spend like $90 on somebody in week 3 because he's the backup running back replacing.
Week 1 or 2. It's not week 3. It has to really be that early breakout. If you did it for Puka or Kyron last year, it was well worth it.
Yes, if you did, but if you did it for Jerome Ford, it would have been an overpay, not a
right.
overpay.
Well, I think the question becomes though, 90% versus like 30%, because 30% is still a big chunk of your budget.
Yeah,
but you're not spending all of it, and so that's
30 wouldn't have got you there last year. I remember. Puka
well, it depends. I mean, I know
just for $34 in our FFT league.
Who is that? Who
did? Kyron Williams.
Okay. Yeah, I got him in a pretty competitive league. I got him for 17. So again, it comes down to, I think the biggest thing is know your league. You know, it is your league. If you've been playing with them year over year, are they conservative, or are they going to have one or two people that do this? And I probably play in the most leagues of the three of us. My oldest leagues, I know that there's always my oldest league. I know there's one guy that whenever there's somebody that pops week 1, he will spend 50+% of his budget, no matter what.
There you go.
So
he's that guy.
If you want that particular player and you think he's going to be that type of guy, then you have to spend it. Now there are different circumstances, so like I see Matt Weber, for example, in the comment, Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary. If Singletary gets hurt week 1,
sure, and
Tracy has clearly been the guy all training camp, and he's going to now be the focal point, everybody's going to spend on him.
Right.
Not me. Well, I mean, will I spend? Yes. Will I win? No, I probably won't. Okay, let's play this scenario out. Tyrone Tracy is the number 2 running back behind Devin Singletary. Singletary has a season-ending injury in week 1. You have $100 in fab. How much are you spending on Tyrone Tracy?
If your roster
needs running back,
hero RB, 0 RB build, you're spending probably 60+%.
This year I will be spending 60 to 70. Past years I was with you, Adam, I'd go 30 or 40 and I'd lose every time. And this
I'm
year
not spending that much money on a running back who does not profile as an every down back on one of the worst offenses in the NFL.
But again,
it's got to be the right scenario.
I understand what you're saying, profile, but they've been using him that way in training camp. So I'm getting.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Fine.
Jamie's saying there's hints of Kyron minus the good offense, but as far as the usage goes,
that might be not the best example to use, but you know what I'm saying? Like it just because I saw the name.
Ty Chandler. Let's say Aaron Jones suffers a season-ending injury.
A guy
that's a good example.
Yeah, that's a guy I would consider 60% for.
Okay, so
because he's done it already. He's shown you already that he can.
But I think also, like if you came out of your draft and you happen to go, let's say you had the first pick, you have McCaffrey, and then your second and third running backs are Zach Moss and James Conner. Let's say, 4-5 turn or 5-6 turn. You ended up with those two guys. You probably don't need to spend.
Yeah. Right.
True.
And then I'm going to put in a bid that I know is going to lose for no reason.
But you never know.
This is a waste of my time. Yeah. By the way, if you want to laugh, go through one of your leagues and look at some transactions. So yeah, Dave added Jerome Ford for $0, dropped him the same day. Nick Chubb must have been healthy at that point. And then 1 week later,
it was week 2.
This must have been like preseason or something.
Okay.
1 week later, QB Dan 77, which I believe is Jamie, added Jerome Ford for $0, but he dropped Jaden Reed for Ford, which was fine at the time. Kyron Williams went for 34. Gus Edwards went for 26. We saw like a Josh Kelly for $11, Justice Hill for $11. How about this? On September 17th, the guy who we used to work with, George, he dropped Devon Achane.
Oh my God.
And he added Isaiah Hodgins.
Oh my God.
4 days later, Heath Cummings added Achane for $2.
Wow.
Kareem Hunt went for $35 at one point. Tony Jones went for $15. And then here's a stretch of Dan Schneier, although in this league, he's Daniel Schneier. Matt Breida for $9. Ty Chandler for $0. I don't know if you held on to him. Deontay Foreman for $19. Amari DiMercato for $18.
See what I mean, though? I'm just like burning cash here by not going for the big guy. I just get a bunch of these
little
guys.
In a row?
Nah, it's probably within like a 3 or 4 weeks.
I needed running backs, clearly. And like,
my guess is it's probably a point in the season. We're probably 3 or 4 weeks in at this point. And Dan realized, we're playing this league out.
No. That happened one time, but the high league issue, this has been remedied since. I know what happened. It won't happen again. And by the way, I ended up making the playoffs in that league, by the way.
Now, if you want to wait till after the break, we'll tell you what Jamie predicted before the show. And then we will rapid fire through the rest of emails. We have a fantasy cops, and we'll get some YouTube questions.
We haven't had enough cops lately. I'm glad we're getting back to the cops.
Yeah, all right. We'll get to that in one moment after this on FFT.
number 1, high speeds across the board. Time has come to decide the top team of the year. The battle is on.
Jamie made a bold prediction before the show started today.
Oh,
What you got, Jamie?
About tennis, that you're going to beat Dan.
It's a pretty bold prediction.
It was my Jordan moment. If anyone has seen the last Dance documentary, when Jordan's sitting on that couch and he's like, and what does he say? He goes, he's sitting on that couch, he's got his head down, and he's like, and that was, I forgot, damn it, I missed the moment. He's like, do you guys remember from the last?
Yeah, this is really, wow, I'm terrified right now. Yeah.
He's like, and I took that personally. That's what it was. And I took that personally.
I gotta say something.
And I took that personally. That was my Jordan moment. And when Jamie predicting that you will beat me, I took that personally for a multitude of reasons. But I will say this.
There is a caveat to it though. You cannot pick up a racket before you play.
I don't plan to. I have no interest in. I have too much golf on the schedule.
Except you did last week. You broke that promise.
I told you I played with my dad one time.
Oh, then forget it. Now you're gonna beat him.
One time. That's all I need.
Yeah, you took off the rust.
By the way,
I mean, I was very rusty. I was very rusty. He went up 3-0, but then I beat him 6-3. But he did go up 3-0.
How sensitive is Michael Jordan? I mean, like, they could be a press conference like, yeah, Michael Jordan's a great player, but we have a lot of confidence. I think we have a good chance to win. And Jordan be like, what the hell did he just say?
Yeah, but he uses that as his motivation to win, just like I will. So I'll let you reframe this, Jamie. After your comment that Adam would beat me, I'm so offended by that. And I like I said, Adam, he calling Michael Jordan sensitive. I am sensitive as well. Just the fact that you would think he would beat me. I played tennis my whole life, and Adam's just picking up the sport. I don't play anymore, but it doesn't matter. We also forget about the fact that Adam. Okay, let's not even get into the athleticism side of this because that's for another day. Because I know I'm a better athlete than Adam overall. And I think you should be thinking that too, Jamie. Just looking at us too. But with that said. I will now, based on what you said, pick up a racket. I don't know when, but I'm going to play at least once before our match. Probably with my dad again.
August 3rd or 4th. Let's go.
No, those two. My next 4 weekends are out of the picture. We need to do a weekday or
a weekday. Yeah. And this, by the way, this is going to be for charity because you're going to have to donate. If you want to,
we're only doing the match if we get a certain amount. If we reach a certain amount of donations, which we will clarify details on this later. But we need to hit a check mark.
I think what we should do is people should bid on each of you.
Okay.
And whoever wins, CBS matches the winning donation.
I like that. Adam.
Oh, wow. That's a great idea.
That's probably the best idea I've heard yet. We've been looking for ideas.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
This is a great start. Thank you, Jamie.
What about if the loser matches it?
Oh, wow. Thomas, that one I wish you hadn't said on air, but you did. Now the cat's out of the bag.
I don't know that I'm into that.
That one.
We got some deep-pocketed listeners.
I mean, that one.
I would want to
rough, Thomas.
I would want to do that to that. Okay, this is Dustin.
Yeah,
Dustin
I wouldn't want to do that to you, buddy.
Is Treylon Burks toast? Why hasn't he been able to earn targets? Was he hurt last year? Is he a late-round best ball target that could pop off? Or is that impossible at this point? Treylon Burks. Jamie, go ahead. Give me 10 seconds.
I mean, he's 4th at best on the depth chart, and that's hard to even say it's a guarantee. So I would hope that they trade him at this point, but it feels like it's going to be a lost career for Treylon Burks, unfortunately.
I really hope they trade him. He was fun to watch at Arkansas, man. Like, he was raw. He didn't run that much of a route tree, but he was electric. And I thought he was going to be a really good player in the NFL. And so it's disappointing. I've been wrong on prospects before. You're going to be wrong. You can't hit the draft 100%. No one does, not even NFL GMs. Someone took Jalen Reagor, the best GM in the NFL, took Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson, just to give you an idea of how hard it is to be a GM and how hard it is to predict these talent. But I agree with you, Jamie. Can we get a trade? Like, give him up. Like, what are you doing with this guy?
Yeah, we gotta move on. We gotta move on. From Bill, he's got a team name. He said, we're going to get so many Nacua team.
Oh, no, it's an Nacua.
Nacua. I think, if you're going to do Nacua, like, it's so easy with Hawkinson and Tua. But, like, you figure out some clever, nuance to it. I don't think Nacua is necessarily that.
You got to draft all three at least if you're going to do that.
By the way, Thomas wants to know if good game Mike is what you're referring to. That made Mike.
It might have been, but I don't know. It's just him on the in his house. He was drinking a glass of water. His eyes.
No, you got it right, and I took that personally.
Yeah, and I took that personally.
What good game Mike? He took personally?
Anything. Jamie picking you over me. Took that personally.
Okay, this is fantasy con. Wait, I forgot the music. Sorry, I have to do this a little bit more.
God,
Yeah,
your voice got
music,
really
it's
high
not
there.
the same without the music.
Oh, fantasy cops.
Yeah, even more than usual for him.
There we go. Can you guys hear this? Fantasy Cops from John. Hey, Peter, John, Philip, Alan, Mork, and Euphigenia. Peter, John, Philip, Alan, Mork, and Euphigenia. I've got this.
Oh, it's Robin Williams characters.
Hello, Jamie. Good job. I don't know who all of them are, but they're definitely
Let's see. Mork is easy.
Peter Pan, right?
Yeah.
From Hook. Euphigenia, Doubtfire.
Yeah.
Mork. John, which is one?
What's Good Morning Vietnam?
Yeah, I've never seen it.
What?
I know. You've
So
already
good.
given me grief for that one. Philip, Allen, and John. All right, I'll look into it. Fantasy Cops. I joined a dynasty startup a couple of weeks ago. 12-team Superflex, PPR, 0.75 tight end premium. Start 10. So does that mean it's 1.75 for a tight end catch, I guess? Okay. In the 12th round of the startup draft, the commissioner put in a vote to change the scoring to add kick and punt return yards. I don't have an issue with this setting, and it likely would not have changed any picks in the draft, but changing a scoring setting of any type. But I raised the concern that it's not right to change any settings during the draft.
Of course not.
Put it to a vote, and it passed 7-5, which is not unanimous, or even 80%, which is what most of my leagues do. I said that this should open the door to other settings changes just to make a point, and said that we should add a second tight end as a starter spot. More trolling and making a point since I drafted 3 startable tight ends. He said he'd put it to a vote, but it was pointless. Well, it got 8 yes votes before he took the poll down and said it's not happening and that there would be no changes. Am I wrong to bash the commissioner even though the change was minor at most? It's the principle of the thing.
This is one of my favorite fantasy cops ever. I love whoever this is who emailed us in. You're one of my favorite people who have ever emailed us in the history of fantasy football today that I've been on the show, at least, because that was an A+ troll job by you. You proved your point perfectly by the league voting it in. And then the commissioner's like, oh, never mind. I can't do it anymore. We're voting it down, but we'll keep the other one that I like that we put in, the return yardage one. No, of course you cannot change its scoring setting mid-draft. This is one of the most obvious things ever in fantasy football. I don't understand why this was allowed by the commissioner. I don't even understand why the commissioner wanted to do this. He probably had like Shashid, whatever, next in his queue or whatever. Rashid, I can't even pronounce the guy's name. He spent like 4th round in my Scott Fishbowl. He went like early 4th in my Scott Fishbowl, which is wild, but I guess he was like the 12th highest scoring player last year in that format. But no, you can't change scoring settings mid-draft. It's absurd.
Agreed.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just looking at Robin Williams' IMDb page.
I love that A+ troll job, though. That was an excellent job.
Okay, he played Dead Poet Society. Was he in
Never
that?
saw it. I don't think I've seen the only movie I saw of the ones you said were
Good Will Hunting.
Oh, Good Will Hunting. Yeah, who was he in that? How about them apples?
He was Sean in that.
I've seen Good Will Hunting. I've seen Miss Doubtfire. I don't think I've seen any of the others.
I agree with you. I'm not. Oh no, you never saw.
No, you've seen Peter Pan. I've never seen Peter Pan.
It's not Peter Pan. It's Hook. You never saw Hook?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen Hook.
It's great. Anyway, thank you very much for the Fantasy Cops email. Let's a few more emails here. We'll finish with some YouTube questions. All right, this is a non-PPR question from a guy that lives in the best city in Texas.
Austin.
Yeah, it's obviously Austin.
I wouldn't say obvious. There's a lot of great cities in Texas, and you probably just offended a lot of people. But Austin is the best, in my
I've
opinion.
only been to Austin, so.
Oh, well, that's.
Did I go to? I think I may have been to Houston.
Went to Houston, Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, El Paso. A lot of good areas. I like Texas a lot.
I have the #1 pick in my non-keeper standard scoring league, and I have 3 routes I'm considering. Let me know which route you'd go. Take Christian McCaffrey and then a combination of ETN, Rashad White, and Pacheco, and then hit wide receivers hard in the next rounds. Pick Lamb first, and then go with 2 to 3 straight running backs after that. ETN, Rashad White, Pacheco, 2 of them with CeeDee Lamb instead of McCaffrey. Or 3, take McCaffrey first, and then two wide receivers, or maybe Laporta or Kelsey. Like 2 of Evans, Olave, Laporta, Kelsey.
Give me that one. I'm on option 3.
Probably this is non-PPR.
Non-PPR makes it a little tougher, but I still don't like investing. It just doesn't make enough of a difference for me because I still think the anti-fragility argument is still in play, PPR or non-PPR. And I don't want those top investments to be these running backs. So for me, it's Kelsey, it's McCaffrey, and then one of these receivers.
I would much like to get 2 running backs early in non-PPR. So if I can get 2 in my first 3 picks, I would.
Okay. Joe Lynn says Hook has some iconic lines that I use in my daily life.
I bet it's amazing, Joe. I just have not seen a lot of the best movies. Like I just saw last weekend for the first time, The Prestige. Amazing movie. I had never seen it. It was really good.
It's a good movie.
I just saw an
I know, right?
amazing movies.
It was an amazing. What do you mean? That's one of the best. I think that's considered probably a top 50 all time.
Oh, have you
No?
seen? There are more than 51 movies that have been made. You don't
think
right?
The Prestige is probably a top 50 all time?
This is as bad as any take I've ever had.
Are you kidding me? Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale.
It's not even the best Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale movie.
It's a phenomenal movie. I think everybody knows it's in one of the best movies.
We're not putting all time.
It's not even one of the 50
Not
best.
including like Citizen Kane, like not like by critics, just like top 50 movies you want to watch.
Okay, yeah, no, just by Dan's list.
No, not my list.
Oh my God, is this a real thing?
There it is. Bang! Schaefer, let's go. 43rd ranked movie of all time, The Prestige. Let's go.
Yeah, that's like IMDb's top 250
Let's
movies.
go. This is the best thing you've ever done for me, Thomas. Actually, no, it's not. You putting up the video.
Imagine liking The Prestige more than Usual Suspect.
Was by far the best thing you've ever done for me.
Boy, The Prestige has got to be now, I think, one of the most overrated movies of all time.
How? It's an unbelievable movie. It's like really well done. Like that was a great movie.
Wow, it's a good movie, but 43. That was impressive, Dan. I gotta, you know what? I gotta take.
You know what though, Adam? I feel like we got set up there. That was too quick to happen.
Nah, that was actually right off the top of my head. No setup with me and Thomas. We just worked like we got good chemistry going.
All right, question from Kevin in Houston. How about that? Dear Jalen,
don't listen to us after what you said.
Jalen, Jeremy, John, and Allen. Jalen, Jeremy, John, and Allen.
Jalen Brunson, Jeremy Lin.
Oh, John Starks, Allen Houston.
Starks, Allen Houston. Nick
Wow,
Starks.
look at you guys.
Nick
Look
Starks.
at Dan. How about that?
No, you helped me there.
This is from Kevin. He's as you know, he said he plays in one non-PPR league. How do you approach? I put these back to back on purpose. How do you approach the first few rounds of non-PPR? So, Jamie, you said you want to come away with 2 running backs.
Yeah, I think just the format, especially if you're able to get, Pacheco for me. If I get, and I'm talking about the beginning of the round, so the McCaffrey scenario that you pointed out. But yeah, I mean, if you can get, and I know Dan would be behind this one, Derrick Henry in round 2 after taking a running back in round 1, I still don't think you pass on. For me, it's the top. I'm trying to think where I cut it off. So I cut it off at the top 8 receivers. Those are the only guys I would take in the first 2 rounds. So, we talk about most of those guys going in the first round. So once I get past Garrett Wilson in round 2, I would prefer one of the top 2 tight ends, and I would definitely lean very heavily toward the running backs.
I also prioritize quarterback more in a non-PPR league, but
sure.
If it's 6 point per passing touchdown. Yep. Jamie, finish this iconic line from Hook. Because I was thinking about that. That's a great movie. I don't really know that there are that many iconic lines. How about this? Ready? Rufio, Roofie.
Oh.
It's more like, oh, but I'll give you partial credit. All right, this is from Pal. I'm terrified to draft any Packers, wide receivers, or tight ends. There are just too many mouths to feed. With that being said, who do you have the most faith in regards to their ADP? And if one of them were to fall to you, who would you jump on the Packers?
The tight ends?
Only Watson to me. No, receivers or tight ends.
Receivers.
I really like them all from a talent standpoint. I think it'd be Watson for me, though, from the upside standpoint. But I would say Wicks as well.
Yeah. Although, it's like the more I think about where Romeo Doubs is free.
I know, it is good. He's going to play a lot of snaps, too, on the outside. Like, he probably will play the most snaps.
I think the thing about, buying into this offense is you just want a piece of it. And, as long as you don't have to overpay for Reed, or at this point, even overpay for Watson, then just take whoever's left. So, like, I drafted, for example, Jordan Love in the fishbowl, and I was hoping to stack him with Watson, and he went right before me. So now I'm going to try and target Wicks or Dobbs or both.
Okay, this is from Jacob. Subject line: The Bear season 3 episode 1. Jacob says, I absolutely agree with you, Adam. That episode was trash. Thank you. Appreciate that.
My friend also thought that.
You know, it's one of the most
say his name?
polarizing episodes. Kevin, is that his name?
My friend Kevin thought that. I didn't think it was like I'm not as strong as you guys are on it. I'll say this: the second half of the third season was a lot better than the first half of the third season. I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but I don't know. I thought it lost a little bit of zip on its fastball in general this season. I didn't like the seasons 1 or 2.
Agreed. Yeah, so far. I've only seen 3 episodes of the third season.
But my God, is House of Dragons getting good the last 2 episodes? Have you
House of
caught up?
House of the Dragon.
Did you watch it yet?
I fell asleep halfway through last night.
Through the 4th episode?
Yeah.
What the heck? It's
I
unbelievable.
started at midnight. It's not that I was bored.
Oh my God. Clearly you didn't get to the end.
I think I watched
don't
it
think
like
you would have
3 times
fallen
already.
asleep if you got to a certain point in that episode.
No, I'm enjoying it. I like it a lot. It's just
Wow.
I don't know what you were doing, Dan. I actually was watching it when we did our Scott Fishbowl mock draft.
I waited till the end of that because I wanted to be focused.
So I was watching, and so not giving anything away, but as the show was unfolding, I was like, not even looking at the draft.
Yeah, I know. How could you? It's a crazy episode that Adam apparently fell asleep to.
Yeah.
I
watched it again.
I'm never gonna let you end that. Once you see what happens at the end of that episode.
thanks for telling. Just stop talking.
That's not giving away anything.
giving
If
away.
you're considering that a spoiler, you're out of your mind. Honestly.
All right.
I mean, when the two,
I got a
mud
bone to
wrestle,
pick with
that's
people
the
who are
part
like
you don't wanna
over
miss.
exact. Sorry, Jamie. What'd you say?
I said when the two queens mud wrestle, that's the part you
Yeah.
don't wanna miss.
I got a bone to pick with people who consider anything to be a spoiler. Not everything is a spoiler. Me saying the episode was great and you're not.
No, I
gonna
don't like
spoil-
that. I don't want to hear anyone's opinion. I want to go in blind. I want to go in knowing nothing. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, you are. From John.
No, I'm not. That was a fake apology.
12
No, but listen, 5 days is not. You have to watch it within 5 days.
I tried. All right. From John, 12-team full PPR league, 2 keepers from the previous season. 1 has to be top 5 of their position and 1 non-top 5. I'm able to keep Breece Hall and Justin Jefferson. That worked out.
Cool.
I have pick 103. It's 2 running back, 2 receiver, 1 flex. I'm probably going to have to choose between Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson, or Josh Allen. Keep in mind, Hurts, Jackson, Purdy, Tua, Stroud, Goff, and Mahomes have already been kept. So who would you choose, Puka, Wilson, or Josh Allen?
1 QB, he said?
Yeah.
I think for me, it would be Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
This is from Austin. Dear Tom, Dwayne, Vin, and Jason. Those are action stars that Adam would not consider action stars.
Is that from Triple X or
No, it's Tom Cruise, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Vin Diesel, and Jason Statham.
Gotcha.
It's a funny green.
Well, you would consider all those, but Tom Cruise actually,
Right.
they all fight.
None of them wear glasses, but Tom Cruise.
Exactly.
If you
So
wear
I try to
glasses,
limit
you're not
myself
in
to
action.
1 insulting Adam tweet a day, if at minimum. And last night, it was around midnight. I was just flipping through. I couldn't find anything to watch, and Mission Impossible 3 was on, I think USA. And I was like, I wonder if Adam would consider this.
Probably not. Is Gus Edwards the best value in fantasy this season? Asks Austin.
He's in the conversation. Is there a good chance that he will be the best value in fantasy? Trying to think who else I would consider to be that right now. I don't know if I'd have to really look into that.
Well, you have to certainly speculate, but really the 3 Bills receivers that are going where they are, Coleman, Shakir, and Samuel, one of those guys is probably going to end up being really good. The Edwards' teammate, whether it's if it's not McConkey, if it's one of the other 2 or 3 guys, Palmer makes the most sense, but could be Quentin Johnson still.
I think Palmer, when Palmer has played with Justin Herbert and without either Keenan Allen or Mike Williams, he's averaged somewhere around 7.5 targets per game. So he's really sticking out to me right now as great value. Jamie, a guy that we've talked about previously as being among the best value is Tajay Spears if he's really not going in the top 100, which I
was thinking later than that, but yes, that's a great call for sure. Watson, is one of those guys. Christian Watson, if he hits, he's going to be an amazing value pick. One guy for me that I draft a lot is Pat Freiermuth. I think just given the opportunity that he has, if he can become the second guy in terms of targets. I know we crap on Arthur Smith a lot, but you look at his offenses and they target tight ends a lot. Now you could say, okay, Kyle Pitts did not have a great season, but the combination of Kyle Pitts and Jonnu Smith last year was a top 12 tight end. So you're getting that position, and clearly you look at this receiving core for Pittsburgh, it's a mess.
That's a great point. Good call. All right, let's see if we have any comments here on YouTube to finish off the show. Joe Lynn says, tricking people with masks is not action. That would be my hypothetical take on Mission Impossible 3. I kind of agree. It's a little cheap that they can just put on these masks and disguise and just like be someone else. It's like kind of how I felt about what was her name? The red woman in Thrones.
Melisandre.
Yeah. She did that thing where she like gave birth to a demon who assassinated someone.
Yeah.
Right? Why couldn't she have
It's a spoiler.
Yeah. Just done that like all the time and just changed the entire outcome of everything. Yeah, it's kind of like cheap, I thought.
Yes, imagine doing that in a fantasy thriller.
Yeah, but why? But you gotta play by the rules.
Dragons.
Well, but you can use dragons all the time. If you had some special power that was so deadly, why wouldn't you use it again? They should have made it like take a huge toll on her body so that she couldn't do it again.
Well, didn't you? It did. Didn't you see that episode like 4 seasons later where she didn't have that necklace on?
No.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I don't remember anything.
When she got old.
When she was like a golem.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, do we have any questions here?
That's what happens to Adam when he takes off his hairpiece.
Okay, well, you don't have a single question right now on YouTube, so we can end our show.
All right, I'm going to destroy Adam in tennis and make Jamie's prediction look horrific.
I like this new twist. We get donations for each side.
It is a great idea by you. We have to figure out, hammer it out, but
it's like in what's the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie? It's all like fight movies, where the guys walk around the crowd and they take money for each side.
Yeah,
Lionheart.
Yeah, and then
all of his movies, but
we'll have Team Adam and Team Dan.
Team Adam, Team Dan.
I like it.
And then we see if CBS will match the winner.
There's going to be a lot of Team Adam, I can already tell, but those who will support me, Team Dan, you will be happy you did so.
I have 2 questions here. Can you guys try and convince me about starting Bengals players, and who is your daddy and what does he do? Is another question we have.
Nice.
But can you guys try and convince me about starting Bengals players? This commenter is not sold. I think it's really all about Joe Burrow for me. If he's good, they're going to be great.
Well, first off, anybody not buying into Jamar Chase, with or without Joe Burrow, he's still a starter. So that's an easy one. Past him, it's questions. 2-receiver league, you can make an argument that T. Higgins should not be a starter. I would still start him and draft him that way, but you can make the argument, and that's more tied to Joe Burrow. And then, if you're not sold on Zach Moss, which a lot of people aren't, then you just pass on the entire backfield, unless, Chase Brown's another guy that could be one of the best values in fantasy.
Love to hear your thoughts on the latest episode of Hard Knocks, specifically the quarterback draft meetings.
Yeah, I loved the quarterback draft meetings. It was the best part of the show. I tweeted about this. I thought Drake May came off looking by far the best of any of those quarterbacks. His recall was unbelievable. It seemed like he was in sync with what Brian Dable was.
You thought he was better than Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, obviously. You're joking, right?
Yeah, Jaden Daniels kept getting it wrong.
The Jaden Daniels one was the worst by far. He had no recall. He called the play wrong twice. And then when he asked him how he would solve the problem, he's like, I'll just throw a touchdown.
That was good.
Yeah.
Not really.
That was a great job by him. Yeah. He didn't get the read right. But I did like also Caleb Williams because he came up with the play. He's like, what's your favorite play? And he broke it down. And Britton Dable's like, well, so what would you do? You throw the post? And he's like, yeah. He's like, you can throw that? He's like, yeah, I can throw that ball. And it's like, cool. Yeah, it takes a big arm talent to fit that window. And Caleb's like, I can. He's like, what if it's not there? You'll throw the back shoulder. And Dable's like, yeah, I used to call this play for Brett Favre all the time. And obviously Brett Favre was unbelievable arm talent as well. So I thought that one was cool as well. Both of those were enjoyable.
Dable, I told Adam this. I came away a bigger fan.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. Okay, let me ask you guys this question.
Chicken wings at the end of the 40.
Do you think he could run a 40 in sub-7?
No,
I think he could.
No.
Not at that point. He's lost like a lot of weight.
Lost a lot of weight. Fine. What do you guys think you would run your 40s in?
5 to 6 seconds.
I hope you're.
That's crazy. Is it more than 6? Over 6?
I don't think you're a sub 6.
I don't know.
We did this over 5 years ago.
Oh, you did?
Me,
I missed this.
Me before you were working here. Me, Will Brinson,
Good old days.
Joy Taylor.
Okay.
Who was there?
What were the times?
I think I was 5 flat.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. That's the thing. I think I could do 5.5 to 6.
So aren't you like a runner, Jamie?
No, I was in better shape and obviously younger at that point, but
you're never a runner or anything?
No.
Oh, 5 flat. Now that gives me hope that I could break. I didn't think I was even going to break sub 6. Adam, I feel like you'd actually be a runner. You're so like lengthy and skinny. I feel like you'd actually be good at this type of thing.
No, I have short legs. I'm short. I'm not lengthy at all.
Will actually was the fastest, surprisingly.
You're not that short.
So I got to say, you that's coming from a very short person.
I'm 5'8".
My favorite player in Hard Knocks, from that episode was Marvin Harrison. I loved his interview.
Yeah,
I loved how great he was. He said he'll never tell a quarterback. Like Malik Neighbors, like, I don't take it well if I don't get the ball early. And that terrifies me, on a bad offense. Marvin Harrison is like, I'm never going to criticize a quarterback. I'm just going to say it's my fault for not getting open. Absolutely love that.
I also love that he was like, they're like, are you going to do the combine? Are you going to run at the pro day? He's like, probably not. Like, I don't really need to. I'm just preparing to be a good football player. Like, my body of work speaks for itself. And he was right.
It's funny because what those guys go through, I talk to a few trainers usually in the offseason.
Yeah.
They don't train for football.
Right. They train for the
combine.
And he's just like, I'm not doing this. Watch the film and draft me accordingly. And he was drafted accordingly to the film.
All right. Give me 3.
Did you get the impression they were going to go from that Rome over Neighbors? That they like Rome more?
The Giants?
Yeah.
No. I got the impression they were in on Neighbors.
Well,
especially Dable.
Yeah.
I don't know about, that's the thing. That's the debate among Giants fans right now. Was it Shane and Brandon Brown on Rome, and was it Dable pushing hard for Neighbors? But I thought Dable was locked in on Neighbors.
Seemed that way. Okay. Give me 3 must-have handcuffs, and we're going to end the show on this.
Okay. Must-have handcuffs.
So just let me ask a question. Are the handcuffs guys who don't play already? So like strictly backups?
I'd say so. I don't consider.
We'll start with Elijah Mitchell. That's the one.
Get
him in there. Get in Elijah Mitchell to start. That's the obvious one.
Mitchell.
Have to get that in to start. I think Corum.
But that's the thing. Like, I think he's going to play. So.
Okay, right.
But okay. Let's to someone who is not playing enough to really ever be in your lineup. Like, if a guy gets 5 carries a game and scores 2.5 points per game, that's a handcuff to me. So that's probably Corum based on
sure.
Okay, right, or at least close to it. So Mitchell, Corum. I mean, Trey Benson. Does he get more than that?
I think he does.
No. Yeah, actually, no, he probably does. I don't think that counts.
What about Tyler Algier?
Algier, I was just going to say, what about Algier? Algier's in the mix.
You could say Braylon Allen. You could say Tyler Algier.
Ty Chandler's in the mix.
I'd rather have Tyler Algier than Braylon Allen.
Probably.
Yeah.
Who else would be in this mix?
Nobody in Indianapolis. I mean, not Trey Sermon.
No.
Marshawn Lloyd?
Yes, I like that. But A.J. Dillon is going to be a factor if Jacobs gets hurt.
Maybe.
Nobody in Baltimore behind Henry if he gets hurt.
Jerome Ford?
I guess that's not a terrible one. I would think almost Dante Foreman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's going to play. I mean, they've done that with Chubb and Kareem Hunt when Chubb was at his best.
Yeah,
right.
True. Yeah, that's a bad call. Terrible call.
Maybe it's not a year for handcuffs.
No, but I mean, these are like late round picks. I'm just trying to think like guys that don't
guess to me? No.
Yeah.
Not really.
I guess we're looking at it right now. Mitchell's the easy one.
Yeah.
You want to say Corum's not going to play very much? It's fine.
Ty Chandler.
I think Chandler is going to play, but I don't think enough to. I think Chandler's a fine pick because I don't think he's going to be playing enough to like ever start.
Right.
On your team. All right, we're out of here. Got to go train. We will we'll talk to you on Monday with a fresh episode of Fantasy Football Today. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.